Work the Game presents Anthem Free Radio, coming at you live and on YouTube with your hosts Brian, Chemistro, and Nightmare Demon. Adventure with us as we learn more about the world of Anthem. And welcome everybody to Anthem Free Radio, Episode 1, Suit Up. It's time to get ready. It's time to get caught up on what's going on with our Javelins, what's going on with BioWare and EA. This is going to be a journey for us. This is a podcast of discovery as we learn about Anthem. I'm really quite fascinated with the lore already, and we know I feel nothing because obviously we haven't played the game. It's coming out February 22nd. The big news, and we're going to cover it, is obviously they're in alpha. There's lots of stuff that they were releasing over the over AMA. In fact, the devs feel like they're just in constant communication with us, and so there's just a lot here that we wanted to start talking about. We've been talking about internally, and I thought, well, at some point, it's been a long time since I started a podcast. The last one I started was Crystal Core. That was about Final Fantasy 1.0. Seems that has worked out real well for me because they've, well, despite whether the game crashes or not, this is going to be a journey about the relationship between EA and BioWare as it relates to Anthem. Anthem as a game in and of itself is very intriguing and it asks a lot of questions. There's a lot that I don't know and understand about it, but we're going to be talking about that here. Joining me on this adventure is Chemistro. Say hey.
Hello, everyone.
And also we've got Nightmare Demon down at the bottom. No webcam. We just got his logo.
Yo.
So if you're joining us on YouTube or Twitch, we thank you guys very much. Also, this podcast is going to be in audio form somewhere in Google Play and on YouTube, or not YouTube, iTunes, as I work all of that out. So be sure, if you're checking us out there, to check us out on YouTube at Work to Game. Or over, if you like it just in audio, we'll make sure that we provide the links in the description below of these videos as well. With that, that is my introduction for it. So, Nightmare, you're going to be the news guy here, as we discussed. Start breaking down the news for us. What has been happening in the world of Anthem from the devs' perspective? Can you get us caught up?
Hello, everyone. As I'm sure most of y'all may be aware, with this being the first episode, there's a lot of news to cover, but I would like you all to join with me as I dive into everything we know so far from the most recent AMA. This is news coming from multiple devs. For now, we've got the state of the game. Anthem is now in an alpha state. The Anthem team will be working on the game, tinkering, tuning, fixing any bugs they may find until the launch, which is February 22nd.
And for an alpha, if you guys aren't aware from a development perspective, it is basically where they start to go polish, tune. They're playing this game every week. It's really actually kind of an exciting milestone. Most gamers, we more or less interact with betas. My history is that, there was a Final Fantasy 14 alpha that they let some players in. It's a very small set way back in the day. And so it's really neat to see. And there's no word on if we're going to see any kind of game, like if they're going to open that up at all. I doubt it. I'm hoping for a beta. But anyway, go ahead.
Open beta would be amazing.
Dude, yes.
Actually, on the thing of beta, I've actually found out that if you are pre-ordering the game, you do get a VIP access to a beta.
What does that mean?
Basically, that means you'll get an early access to the beta. So that tells me that in most cases, when people pre-order games like that and they have a beta, it's the people who pre-order get access to, or get into the beta a day ahead of everybody else. Okay. So like, let's say the beta release is for a weekend right before launch. So let's say everybody else will get access to it for the open that Saturday. But if you pre-ordered the game, you can start playing the beta Friday.
What do you guys think about pre-orders though? Like at the end of the day, like I took a pledge in 2018 not to pre-order. I'm doing really good on that. This is 2019, so like January 1. If it gets me something, I don't know. Like
I mean, for now, really the only thing the pre-order is really getting you is the Legion of the Dawn skins, which apparently the colors can change to whatever you choose them to be.
So that just makes me think that, like obviously we can cosmetic art.
You can change like the way your Javelins look color scheme wise.
Glamour's the true end game. I think
In
So true.
everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
This is a pretty good incentive, though, as far as incentivizing players to go ahead and pick up the pre-orders so they can start playing just a little bit in advance. I like that it's just one day early and not like a whole week. That way they can't just snowball ahead.
Which, with betas, I mean, you're going to snowball ahead, but I mean, once the game comes out, you're starting from scratch.
Well, I mean,
unless there's a part where they carry over the open beta too long.
Right, they're not like we have no news on if there's any kind of progress carryover. My guess.
Most of the time, there's not, because when they done Destiny 1, I done the beta for it, and you got to level up until like 10 or 11, and then when the game came out, you started over. There was no carryover, but the beta for Destiny 1 lasted for like 2 weeks.
Okay. So. Yeah, we'll have to see, like, because I know that I've seen where they're talking about like some kind of deal also with EA Origin access things. There's so much complication because like this game's coming, for PC, PS4, Xbox. We do know from the AMA, and I don't know if we've got it here in our notes, but they said there will be no crossplay at launch. But they said that before Sony made their change.
Before Sony made
their
announcement.
So I'm honestly secretly hoping that. Now, I know that on an Xbox, you have EA Access, which EA Access gets you access to the game early. And so, honestly, at some point, we might just have to literally cover the grid in which you can, how you can end up playing at some point. Like once it becomes a little bit more solid, and maybe that grid already is, being put together by other people in the community. We'll have to find out. But it's just like I was sitting here thinking about it because we were talking about picking it up on PC, and then if I'm thinking, man, there's a lot of players on like Xbox that I would play with. Like, oh gosh, like, is this going to be one of those situations where I have to level up on both? Man, how like, if the game's fun, that's not really painful. But if it's like, oh man, do I have to choose to play with one group over the other? Anyway,
agree. Like personally, with me and my friends, like they all play on PS4, and so I'm being the only PC gamer here. We're all playing Destiny. I'm off by myself. They all get to play together. The reason I don't play Destiny is because we don't have that cross-play. Yeah. Still looking forward to play Anthem, but if we can get that in, that's going to be a huge motivator for me to be able to keep up and play along with everyone.
Yeah, so we'll keep you guys up to date on if there's any changes there. They said not at launch, so it sounds like they're definitely open for it. And we'll get into why, because like there's some things with Destiny that like I think crossplay definitely is an interesting conversation we should dive in. But Nightmare, I'm going to let you continue down the news break here.
All right, and as with a lot of games nowadays, there is going to be an internet connection requirement to play Anthem. This is part of the Our World aspect of the game, where they have dedicated servers, so everyone experiences a shared experience.
Okay, so you'll be able to interact. Definitely MMO light then.
It's MMO-esque. So like Destiny and Destiny 2, both of them require internet connection to play because you can't really play by yourself. I mean, most games nowadays.
Like go play in the corner. Just go sit over there and play.
Exactly. Like couch crossplay is no longer a thing.
Yeah, I mean it's really not, and it's depressing in a way, but future rolls on, I guess. Business standpoint, they want you to buy more consoles. That's
or copies, etc.
Or copies, etc.
Or both.
Or exactly both. That's what they really want. It's Illuminati conspiracy.
I really hope there's an Illuminati now in this game. It becomes a whole.
That'd be hilarious.
Like, all right,
Great. From what has been said and from what we've heard, there should be an ultra wide support from Anthem.
Okay.
Thinking that's like you got your ultra wide monitor, there should be support for that at launch.
Man, like I see those monitors and they actually personally intimidate me because I have two monitors, right? And I like how in Windows I can kind of snap, and it's like I see those really long monitors. It looks cool. A video game would probably look insanely impressive in that aspect. Keep me up to date on that. If anybody out there, I would say, like, if anybody out there knows a lot about that technology, I'm willing to to be educated.
Like,
I would have I get whiplash.
Right. Yeah, whiplash. Exactly. That is the problem I see. I saw a build not that long ago where somebody had 3 ultra wide 32-inch monitors, and I'm just like, how?
Yeah.
How does that work?
But do they have a wrap around them?
Yeah, it was like wrapped around them, like almost all the way around.
At that point, isn't it cheaper just to go VR?
Right?
Anyway. Just about.
That's the thought, anyways.
Yeah.
Imagine this if Anthem was VR though. That'd be insane.
Well, I mean, they just announced Borderlands 2 VR for PS4. Oh my god! Like, I saw that and I was like, "You okay, Sony? All right, you got my attention."
They're starting to sound like Bethesda. I'm just saying, let it die, man. Let it die. Give us a new game. And for all of you controller-loving folks like me and Brian,
yes, right here,
PC will have controller support at launch.
There we go. That's if they didn't have that at launch, I would be very sorely disappointed. Like, well, especially because it's already programmed, right? Because it's like here it is for console, but nope, cut that out on PC.
Really got the out of it in. A quick question I want about that though is like I highly doubt it, but just asking this out there.
Yeah.
What about allowing keyboard and mouse support for consoles, especially since this is not a PvP game, it's just PvE?
Yeah.
So they probably will since Microsoft is supporting.
Microsoft, just made that announcement.
It's up to the developers.
Well, and Sony has always had that approach, because it's like you can use keyboard and mouse on PS4 for Final Fantasy 14. Sony's always had that, so Microsoft's finally getting into that field. And especially because it's like here somewhere in the notes, we can just kind of just jump to it. They've said there is no PvP at launch. And they've said it a couple of times that make me go like, I don't know if they're just kind of like no PvP at launch. I'm going to see how people respond to the game and then to see if there is a demand for it. Because one of the things that they've talked about that's really interesting about kind of the PvP aspect is that the fact that it does not have PvP makes me go, well, everybody who was saying this is going to be a Destiny 2 killer or it's going to compete against Destiny 2. So no, it sounds like it's going to be more Diablo. It sounds like it's going to be more Phantasy Star Online. It sounds like
it's going to have a Diablo-esque loot system.
Right. And that means they can really make some crazy weapons, loot and crazy, because it's like, who cares if it's broke?
Like if it's not, like, I'm hoping for like a Borderlands kind of loot system, like where the stuff rolls and you have this massive array of weaponry and attachments and stuff for your javelins, and it's completely random what you have.
Yeah.
Because that is a very addicting loot system. That's why I enjoyed Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 1 as much as I did.
Well, it creates a huge amount of build diversity. And so we know that we've got 4 javelins, but then you can have like a range of different builds. My hope, and I think they actually talked about this, and I don't know if we've got it in our notes, but a gear set in which is that you can have your javelin, and if you've got these crazy loot, like I've got these 10 guns, and they all are just crazy, you could have gear sets in which that you're like, all right, we're going as this. I'm going to bring my javelin, who's a ranger and built built in this different way than the other ways that I can do it. I don't know. Like that's really what I wanted to get
actually. I was watching some videos about it, and so they have like kind of like a drop system. If you think like the camps and Monster Hunter, we can kind of go back and change out your equipment, your loadouts.
Yeah.
They do have that for Anthem, so we can look forward to being able to swap loadouts in there.
Yeah, that's your Strider, right? Where it's like you can kind of just in here and change out your build, etc. I love that they let us jump in and out, like it's drop in, drop out multiplayer.
Oh yeah,
it's not just your Strider either. You can do that in Fort Tarsus. There's going to be a forge in Fort Tarsus and a forge in your Strider, which is where you have to swap your javelins and your equipment and all that fun stuff.
I wonder how that's going to work, like mid-mission, right? Like, let's say you're in a Stronghold, and for those of you who are new and coming on this adventure with us, Stronghold is like a dungeon. They talked about raids and they talked about matchmaking, and that's a big conversation that I want to have. But I think that probably we might save that for episode 2. But with that, it's like, hey, we're all like doing this Stronghold. Can we port back to our oh man, well, we really should have, oh man, I should have had this port back and then have to make that change. I'm wondering how that works, especially with drop in, drop out multiplayer, because if you got drop in, drop out, and it's like they won't let me make that change. Peace, guys. I'll be back, and I'm wondering if there's some kind of penalty.
Be back momentarily.
Yeah,
yeah. Be back, or if that, because essentially. If there is no disadvantage to doing that and then they don't allow it naturally, I'm wondering if that's going to break up the flow of the game, the play. Like all of a sudden it's like, especially like in Diablo, whenever like you join in with a group, the forces of hell are getting stronger. And then it's like, okay, yeah, like we got a buddy.
It dynamically increases the difficulty.
Right. And so like if we're having this drop in, drop out, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see it and this up being, if there, especially if a meta starts forming around various builds along with groups of them. Anyway, I digress. So lots of questions that we've definitely got.
It will be definitely interesting to see. for our features and facts that we know about the game, currently, as we know, there's 4 Javelins, and originally they was set up to be unlocked via missions.
Okay.
They recently changed this to level thresholds, as they found it took too long to unlock them through the missions, depending on your play style. If you're not really into story, it would take you a while to unlock the other Javelins. So each Javelin after the Ranger is now level gated.
Okay.
The developer Mark stated that you still have a choice of which Javelin you want to unlock at each gate. Currently, it's tiered at every 5 levels. So your first Javelin, your first secondary Javelin, you'll unlock at level 5.
Okay.
I really excited for this.
Yeah, I like that. We're going to jump into the different Javelins here once we get through the news. Like we said, there's a lot of it, but that's good. I knew that it was level gated, but I like that you can then pick, because it's like, oh man, yeah, I'm level 5, and it's like everybody, like, okay, if it was always the same, then even as a 4-man group, it's like, well, we can't, like, it'd be kind of nice to have build diversity, and it sounds like going into it, we'll be able to. Can't even speak.
And as I said earlier, your pre-order is the Legion of the Dawn skins, and they will be the color can change to your liking. And also another thing that they have said, it's a little bit further down in our notes, but they're not going to be any special effects to the skins. Like they're just going to be cosmetic, from what I've been able to find out.
So are they making reference to special effects to the Legion of Dawn skins, or are they making because
some people were concerned that, like, hey, you pre-order this, some of the equipment like you get from pre-order of certain games, they might have like abilities on them or something, and they're, gives you a little bit of a boost at start.
Yeah. And what did they say about that?
They said that right now there's not going to be any special effects to the skins. They're solely cosmetic.
Okay, just solely cosmetic. Yeah, I think that like go ahead, Chemistro.
Oh, I'm just saying good. As long as they keep that, they don't just change at the last second.
Well, that's the big question, right? Like with EA, because they said that there's no loot boxes. You're not going to pay for loot boxes and things like that with this game. They announced that like at E3 to arousing applause. And so there's no loot box progression system of random stuff. But then I'm like, well, EA likes to make money. What are we going to do? And I've heard some people complaining about a new game, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and their monetization system, and how that it feels good whenever you purchase the XP boost, because that kind of feels like a good pace, but without it, it's penalizing. So when you say special effects, I could see where people are getting concerned. It's like, oh, you really want to have this skin because it's going to make leveling
or something like that.
Because imagine if you were level 30 and I was level 5, and you had the money and I didn't, and it's like, well, I now feel like I should, either give up money or give up, an insane amount of time. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see. This is going to be a big ultimate question about how it's monetized, long term.
Speaking of the monetizing, from what they have said and from what we've been able to find out, there's not going to be any loot boxes in the game. There's going to be solely cosmetic stuff that you can buy.
Okay.
And that's all it is. You will know what you get when you purchase it. Like when you go to buy something, you know what you're getting when you buy it.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
They're taking a page from Warframe's book on that, which is good. They also said that the cosmetics that you can buy, you can also earn. So like you don't have to buy them if you don't choose to. From what was said, you can earn them as well.
That feels very Warframe-y in that regards, because it's you can
play
like and get the currency to get.
So hopefully they're looking at the success of Warframe and building upon that. I just don't want them to, promise all these things and say later on they start changing them, because things could change post-launch. If
it is EA after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big question. Like, what?
Only time will tell.
What will the Puppet Master, pull off?
What is the Puppet Master going to give us today?
All right. What else you got for us?
From a question that was asked on Twitter, you can carry just one weapon if you so choose. You can carry 2, but you can just equip 1 if you want to. Not real sure why you want to, unless you're just a pessimist. But it would be interesting to see if they come out with weapons later that require both slots.
Okay.
Like get like a super heavy weapon that would require to take up both your weapon slots. That'd be kind of cool.
So my concern here is that, let's say you were wanting to challenge yourself and just take one weapon, and there's matchmaking. Like, is that how is that
going to hurt you?
will hurt you or hurt your team, team, etc. Because it's that. I'm wondering if it's like, yeah, you can take one weapon, you can go play in the game, but then if you're in matchmaking, if I don't know if it's going to force some decisions upon you. My concern, like we'll talk. I think that's going to be what we want to talk about for episode 2 is matchmaking, raid matchmaking, and difficulty. Is that all of a sudden it's like, oh, I want to challenge myself. I'm match made into this content, and now I'm really bringing a disadvantage to the other people.
The rest of the team.
Right.
Yeah, to chime in, like that is a definite problem, but I don't think we'll be seeing too many of these types of challenge runs, at least at launch. So again, it's just we can discuss later on, and
absolutely
keep an eye on more as the game progresses.
Stay tuned. Episode 2 coming in 2 weeks, guys. All right, what else you got? Nightmare.
On another note about the carrying only one weapon, as of for now, it doesn't like offer you any benefits. So like if you only carry one weapon, you don't get increased mobility. You don't get no benefit of just carrying one weapon.
That kind of saddens me, but I'll deal with it. Only running.
A benefit would benefit the party then. It's like, well, because that would be the trade-off. Like I'm rolling one. Anyway, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. On another note, they have said that the hoods, your HUD layout will be the same no matter which Javelin you're in. So, like, depending on which Javelin you're in, it's not going to drastically change your HUD. It's going to be the same HUD regardless of the Javelin.
Okay. All right. That's good. Not really surprising. It's like, all right.
I do want these to be customizable, but
that's what I want. Like, I could care less if it's the same. It's like
I'm actually going to research that a little bit, like see if you might have the option of customizing your HUD.
Or maybe like changing the colors of like the different pop-ups.
Yeah, changing the colors and stuff would be awesome. That would be really cool. And another thing that someone brought up, somebody had asked about an Iron Man skin in the game. On that note, BioWare would need to get Disney on board with this, obviously, but as the case is, EA already has contacts with Disney. Whether or not they're on good terms with them from Battlefront, another question.
I think good terms always are represented by the color green.
Exactly.
Like, you want it, and it's like I think that's where even as the players, when we're talking about how they monetize it, it's like, yep, here you go. Here's War Machine. Here's Iron Man. Go for it. $35. That's
cool.
I could see them actually doing it if like they made like a deal with Disney saying, every percentage of every skin for this Iron Man skin that sells, you get a cut of it straight to Disney. Like I think Disney would allow it, but
I like the idea that Disney's going to take a cut.
Disney's
going to take the pie and they might sprinkle a little magic back to.
There you go. So with them having that connection, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
And another note, for all you multi-class folks out there, it is with regret that I say you can't get drops for Javelins that you don't have unlocked. So if you only have your Ranger and your Colossus, until you unlock other Javelins, you will only get drops for those two. Okay. So unlock your Javelins in the order that you would like to build them. So if you want your main to be a specific one, get that one first at level 5.
Okay.
I actually kind of like that as well. It is a bit sad that you can't get drops to other classes you don't have unlocked. I don't think the leveling process will be particularly long before you could have all the Javelins unlocked. That's coming in later on in the future when we have potentially expansions and more frames, then it might get problematic. But for now, I think that's actually pretty good.
One of the things they talked about, which was cool though, like this is a part of like the gameplay demo, is that anybody of any level can play together. So it really comes down to like if you're playing with friends, like, oh, do you like, let's say like you had a Colossus and you had a Storm and nobody was an Interceptor, and it's like, well, maybe I'll go Interceptor just so we have some of the options that maybe that the four have as a
1 sec, gotta get up real fast.
Okay, you're good. All right, so we'll go ahead and keep going on here. The and for
those
on
that though,
what do you say?
Something I just want to add on is like, since you said that you can level sync and play along with others, I think also too that they said it's when you start, like the whole world is available to you, but naturally you don't want to go everywhere in the world because there will be stuff that'll just one-shot you instantly.
Right.
But I kind of do like this approach as it's not regulated by story upon where you can go, like, which is nice. You actually can play whenever with friends.
Yeah, I don't know how like the level sync concept in and of itself works because there's different ways to do it. It sounds like that it's just like the system balances itself out, like and it's not like you have to go in and futz with it, which sounds nice. Like if I can just jump in, I'm level 1, you guys have been playing all day, you're level 5 or 10, there's cool, we're playing and we're having fun and the game is balanced, so I'm not just getting melted and then also, or I'm not bringing you guys down because of that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I like games that do that where it's like, yes,
that's the way
like
Borderlands 2 was. They had it where it didn't matter what level you was, you could play with anybody, and it just kind of scaled the enemies to you in a way, but didn't hurt anybody else or make it easier for anybody else either.
That's I
could be wrong, but I think they did say they will upscale the lower level players so they can actually participate.
That's what it is. It upscales the player. That's what it was. It scales that player up to the level of the highest level person. That's what it is.
Okay, cool.
Correct.
All right. It's going to be weird because if I'm playing with you guys and I go play with someone, I was like, I used to be so strong. What happened? I'm level 5 now. Oh my gosh.
And for those of you who likes doing multiple playthroughs, you can have multiple characters on a single account. For those that like to do that.
Yeah. I wonder if there's any value or if it's just, for the story, or if you want. I don't know. I guess it depends on if you can connect
multiple. Because the way they talk about the story is depending on like the decisions you make, it can alter what happens in the game, and you can see that effect in Fort Tarsus.
There we go. See, that makes sense because I know one character can play all the javelins. So I was like, well, okay, yeah, definitely from a story.
It's story related.
That's gonna be really interesting for me to explore lore wise, because at some point there's got to be some source of truth to the story. I don't know. This is great. I'm excited. That's fun.
For now, they don't say how many alts you can make. I don't know if there's going to be a limit or not. There may be, but there's no telling.
Okay, cool.
And for those of you who are wondering, just because you wonder that, you cannot eject from your Javelin while in the open world. Pilots and Javelin's health is shared.
Yeah.
In the HUD. And
they say the world's dangerous. Like you
it's
don't
dangerous.
Want to go out
the human can survive outside the Javelin.
So we can't do the Diva nuke from Overwatch. All right.
No, you can't do that.
With the Overwatch poster behind you, it's like we know where his heart lies.
And like we were saying earlier, the forge is where you'll be swapping between your javelins and customizing them. And you also have a forge in your Strider. So unfortunately, you can't swap on the fly per se between your javelins or gear sets. I don't know exactly what their restrictions are on all that yet, like how often you can go back to your Strider, or if you can do it inside the mission, like you was asking earlier about like the Stronghold. Not real sure on that.
All right, cool.
And going into our team play news that we know, at the moment there is no real healing frame. You can't give health to your other teammates.
I like healing. That's why I was like, okay, so no way to give health.
Yeah, this is something I want to discuss later on. So we'll get to that topic in a bit.
Okay, cool.
But remember, as discussed before, there will be health pickups that will drop after defeating an enemy.
Okay.
So, something they had said earlier, or in other things, that there will be health drops. So maybe there's gear or weapons that could possibly increase.
Yeah, we see that in Diablo. So, that's where I get the Diablo vibe. Is that you get that 8 HP per second kind of healing, and then that's where it's like from a build, like you might be like, I really want to, as a tank, want to have a constant flow of health.
Or maybe your weapons give you health back from hitting enemies or shooting them, have like a blood drain on them kind of a thing.
I want something that feeds bullets into my gun without reloading, like freaking
Gunzerker
from Borderlands 2. That's the build that I'm looking to find.
And one of the developers stated that when you've fallen in the thick of battle, it's hard to beat the Colossus' ability to wade into chaos and save other javelins.
Okay. So you can't heal, but you can obviously revive.
Yeah, you can pick other players up. So, and obviously the Colossus, we'll find out more about him in a little while. Big beefy dude.
Big beef.
Yep. Still not confirmation on any buffing or healing from nothing that they've said. So there's no healing, and we don't know yet if any of the javelins will be able to buff your friends, like give them special perks.
Okay.
And one of the things that we'll get into in the lore, the Shaper Storms, just like with the Strongholds that Brian mentioned earlier, will require 4 people to complete.
And the Shaper Storms, I think, essentially then are kind of like, I'm thinking of them as a Fate in Final Fantasy, as kind of those events.
That's kind of what they sound like.
Like it's dynamic. Like you're out and about, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, like this event's happening.
Shaper Storm.
Yeah, like, and then you choose to go to it if you want, or you get, maybe it comes around you and you get caught up into it. But and then if it requires 4 people,
like you're doing one and another one like has a chain of it that kind of spawns and on top of that, and also
that'd be nice. That boom to boom to boom. What we need to see is that if it's like you're just soloing out there in the world and stuff, like if you come upon that, like if it match makes you, or if is it something where you got to literally get on the phone and be like, Shaper Storm, log in.
Guys, get on. Need you now. And on the notice, another little tidbit about classes. The Interceptor class will not be able to use heavy weapons, such as minigun, which people have asked about.
Okay.
But they will be able to use shotgun-style weapons.
Ooh.
Speedy shotguns.
Speedy shotgun.
Is very interesting.
Yeah.
And also, as said before, there is no PvP at launch.
How do you guys feel about that?
I like PvP in a sense, but it's kind of fine that it's not at launch. I mean, that allows people, I guess, to really focus on the story and stuff like that. And then later, if they decide to do a PvP, I mean, that's cool and all, but I don't really need it.
Yeah, I mean, I do have PvP games. Sorry, Chemistro, go ahead.
I enjoy them, but I've got other things for PvP on.
Chemistro, I'll cut you off. Go ahead.
Agreed, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're fine. As I say, we have other things for PvP, but personally, I like this game not having PvP just because, if you want, you have Destiny to kind of fix this itch for that as far as PvP. In this game, as we said before, all the crazy weapons and abilities and builds you can create allows us to really open up. They don't have to worry about balancing all that. We can just go ballistic.
I don't know how yet I feel. I think it depends on the type of PvP because in my mind, and this is probably another conversation for another podcast, but like I think of it and I go, man, how cool would it be to have just this ESO style type of PvP, crazy PvE, PvP mode in which that you're trying to do something. But obviously that and that context really is going to have to be balanced in the overall world and story. Like we could get into this world and realize it makes no sense, like for the game because the game doesn't need it. And so I think the fact that they're like, it's not a launch. I want to get hands-on with it. Right now, like honestly, I feel a little bummed because I'm like, I like PvP. If I'm playing in this game, living in this world, it's a good way to offset any kind of content drought. Because then it's like it's always changing. But maybe the game doesn't need it whatsoever because I don't need it. I don't need it in Diablo. Diablo 3, it works just fine without it. It might be a nice to have. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, what happens.
And they always could make like PvP weapons and sets so that way it is like you have your balance of PvP.
Yeah, Diablo actually does have a PvP.
They added it finally because like I've always
there was a little bit of PvP in Diablo 3. Not that you really matchmake to do it, but you could do it against like your friends.
Okay.
On another note, as far as like skill trees and how your abilities work, your pilot skill tree will be tiered.
Okay.
So it kind of, I would assume, like branching off depending on which way you want to go with your skills. It depends on how you build your pilot.
Right.
But they will be tiered.
Okay.
And on the other note about like the Shaper Storms and Strongholds, with Strongholds, you can't do them solo. Even if you would really like to tell your friends to sit down, grab some popcorn and watch, you can't do it solo.
Yeah. That's like challenge. All right, guys, here we go.
Somebody will prove that wrong, I'm sure. Well, unless there's like some kind of mechanic to it.
Is it a difficulty thing or is it a mechanic thing? Like
it's probably going to be
if you got like everybody go stand on these things and it's like, well, I can't.
We'll have the ancients all over again.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. And on that note, we are now down to lore and collections.
Oh yeah, this is like I said, like when they talk about the Shapers, when they talk about this game. And the lore, like BioWare I think they are really good world builders. They're really good storytellers. And so there's just this innate sense that I'm like, I love Final Fantasy XIV for its story. I love these games. I love games for like the story that they can tell. And already the mystery of the Shapers and that, like I look at it from a religious standpoint, like that's a very like deistic form of view in which that like in the deistic form is that God created the world and then he's just like, I'm out of here. And so like you see that in a lot of games, but that's kind of what the Shapers are. And so then like the thousands of questions are like are they God-like beings? Are they or are they just like real advanced with technology? And then they like somebody like, guys, the budget was cut. We got to bounce. No, don't even bother picking it up. Like go. Let's go.
Just leave.
So I'm really curious as to the relationship with the Shapers.
Like the lore is going to be really interesting to get into. Yes. Like it really is.
It is, and so that's where like I'm really excited. The gameplay looks great, but the lore, I'm
really
interested
in it. Pretty crazy.
I'm curious to see like how not having
this. What's up?
Honestly, I'm curious to see as how they will tell us as well, because personally, I'm not a lore guy, but if the story is engaging enough, you will get me there to like be invested in the world.
Oh, I'm gonna be calling you up, dude.
I'm big in story.
Dude. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I found this piece of lore. Anyway.
No way.
On the note of lore, yes. One of the things they're taking from, like we've said, they've done Mass Effect. They're big into lore. Because there's a whole section of like the first 3 Mass Effect games where if you're into lore, you could get lost for hours and hours in their game codex. This one is going to have a game codex like Mass Effect's was implemented.
Yeah. There
will be one of the core vectors to learning the in-game lore. So likely immense and deep, where you can dig into the lore of Anthem. So like you can really get into it if you choose to.
And I'm hoping
to touch up on that for those of us who haven't played Mass Effect. Like, what is this codex?
The codex is kind of like. Did you ever play Kingdom Hearts?
Yes.
Chain of Memories.
Okay, so it's kind of like a Jiminy's journal. It's like it's got like a bunch of, like, as you progress through the game, you come across things, and it will unlock these little entries in your data thing. So
kind of like scanning things in Metroid Prime game.
Yeah, it gives you information and background to the game. Like as you progress through story pieces, it'll give you some more background, and it's lore that you don't have to really get into if you don't want to.
Right.
But for those that want to get into the lore, you can go in and see like background information about, like, you know, things that happened in the past, you know, things that
that's pretty cool.
And it also seems to add like kind of a collection mini game to it. Like
it's like a book in the background of the game, basically. Oh, my son is going crazy.
No, you're good, man. All right, what else you got? Because we're almost we're doing good on the lore here.
And the Dominion, which is like another group. There's a few different groups in the game from what I've been able to understand. And Dominion and its leader, the Monitor, is they're another group. Think of the Dominion as a reputable force against the freelancers who believe that their actions are doing good to those in the world. An example used was, think in the perspective of being on the side of Thanos.
Yeah.
You believe you're seeking control of others for their own good. They have an idea of a cultured success. Harnessing the power of the Shaper's technology will bring this to fruition. Again, in their mind, the freelancers are in the wrong.
Yeah, and that's the best villain. That's the best opposition. Is that because it's like if they're like, oh, we're evil and we're gonna just be here to be evil. It's like, all right.
Yeah, like when ideologies clash, it's not just some guy for the sake of being evil.
Right.
Yeah,
it's that, exactly. No, you guys don't understand. Like, we're going to do this, and this is going to be the benefit. This is how we save everybody. This is how we make the world a better place. And then that opposition really builds the tension, the drama, et cetera. Because then in our minds, that like they're doing it wrong. They're going about it the wrong way. And maybe they have, like everybody can have a noble purpose. But you have to. But it's the way that you achieve that noble purpose that is usually what everybody disagrees on, and that in and of itself is.
See, now I'm invested because like this reminds me of Final Fantasy Tactics when the story from that is two friends driven apart by ideology. So I'm all on board for this now.
Exactly.
It sounds pretty interesting.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. The lore is gonna get crazy, guys. It's gonna be a rad. There will be things in the game like contracts. I'm assuming they're gonna be like little side missions that you can do to earn like loot and stuff.
Okay.
But the contracts coming from the agents, I'm assuming NPCs in Fort Tarsus, will be RNG based. Okay. Basically regenerating contracts into unique ways, allowing players to continue gaining loot and currency within the world.
The RNG or the randomness of it, hopefully that means the objectives as well, because
like it would be completely like randomized missions, basically what you have to go do, what you may have to go collect.
That's exciting because it's not like, oh man, I got this same quest today, and it's like it's the same thing. I do the same thing.
Not like our beast tribes from not like beast tribes.
Yeah.
From 14.
The only random in the beast tribe is like what 3 quests you get that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but they're the same like pool of quests. It's just random which one you get, but the quest is the same. And on the news side, there will be more live streams and other marketing aspects in the near future, since, as was said earlier, Anthem has now reached its alpha stage.
This is gonna be great. This is the perfect time to kind of, I guess, go on our journey with this podcast.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of news coming out over the next, probably, my guess, there'll probably be a good bit of new gameplay footage and stuff coming out over the course of I'd say probably the next month. We'll see a lot more gameplay and maybe info on what may be changing. And like the next month and a half will probably be the really
Once you get past Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm sure that they're gonna be marketing.
It's like the next month and a half is gonna be real big on like info, gameplay, and then it'll probably die down a little bit during the holidays, and then it'll come back full force probably January.
Excellent.
Probably January.
Especially January.
Launch.
All right. Thank you very much, Nightmare, for breaking down the news, everything that's been going on, even before we start podcasting. Hopefully, our news segment will be a little bit, who knows, they could just drop and be like, here's everything you ever wanted to know about Anthem. Chemistrol.
Lore dump.
Yeah, lore dump. Chemistrol. Okay, so we know we're getting 4 Javelins at launch, and they cleared that. Like, 4 at launch, that means that there's potential for, more Javelins in the future, probably. As paid DLC is my bet. But with that, tell us what we know about the 4 Javelins. We got Ranger, Interceptor, Storm, and Colossus. And my hope is break it down, and then and then this is for me and Nightmare and you. What are we really kind of feeling drawn to, based off of what we know so far?
Okay, well, the first Javelin that everyone started with is the Ranger. And this is more than just, the Soldier 76. This is, while he can use every single type of weapon, he is also being able to be really good in the hands of those who are proficient in multiple weapons. So you're kind of the jack of all trades, but with that practice, you can be the master of all trades as well, so to speak.
Okay.
As far as his abilities go, the first one that he has access to is the Shock Mace, and it is just as it sounds. You literally hit enemies with a mace imbued with electricity.
That's great.
It's kind of funny that the actual description of the ability on the official site says that it deploys an electrified mace to send a medically inadvisable amount of voltage through its enemies. Humor aside, I am
that is awesome.
Say like Diablo. If you remember from Diablo 3, the rune system, how you could change your runes, it would change your skill altogether.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's possible maybe to say change it from a medically inadvisable to medically advisable. So maybe if you swing that and hit allies, you can repair them. Who knows?
That'd be an interesting thing later to find out and see if they add the healing aspect.
That would be nice, yeah. Because
you got heal mace. You got heal mace. Hit me.
Hit me with the mace. Hit me.
Just come on, hit me. The next step are grenades, and they're pretty much self-explanatory. But we also have different types that you can find out in the open world. You only start with the basic ones, but in the open world, you can find frost grenades, which will literally freeze enemies in their tracks.
Okay.
You can actually combo that with other. Almost said mechs, other Javelin abilities, say like, the motor from the Colossus, you can just freeze them, stun lock them, just rain death on them from above.
Yeah.
Or even things like seeker missiles. You don't have to worry about aiming, just throw it and let it watch it chase after.
Hunt down its victim.
Yeah. Just imagine like the sticky grenade from Halo, but with homing properties.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm wondering if we'll see like modifiers. Like, you talk about skill trees and things like that. But that makes me also think of like how Borderlands, you could modify your grenades. So it's like, I got these grenades, and then I apply this, and now it does these other things. So,
and that is something I really want to see as well. Because like, as I said before, you start with the basic ones, but I do wonder if later on, if you could modify those, as you say, but you have like, say, a decreased ammo count to kind of counterbalance it.
Yeah.
Like if you could start out with frost grenades, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That'd be cool. Awesome. I love grenades. They're always a fun gameplay element.
How are they not fun?
Well, yeah, in the Division, it's like they're so powerful too. Like it's like, so going back that, I'm like, boom, yes, grenades, absolutely.
Just real quick on your shock mace thing, what you said, change it to the medically advisable. Mm-hmm. Maybe make it into a defibrillator. Out, you can walk up and smack them with a mace.
That's how you raise. That's how you raise. That's how Rangers raise.
Smack them in the head while they're on the dirt. No, little meme cartoons of the white mage just smacking somebody with their staff.
That's fun.
If we can do that, I may actually change my Javelin to this one. But we'll have to see.
Okay.
So for the next ability they have is Muster Point, and this will create a rally point around them that provides gear cooldown for any allies that enter its radius. Essentially, you basically lower the cooldowns of all your other allies within its radius.
Okay, so utility.
Really yeah. Cool. And so you combine that with like the Frost Grenade, you can get some really good support out of this.
Mm-hmm. And
for their ultimate ability, they have the Multi-Target Missile Battery. That's probably 4 coolest words I've ever said in succession. But basically, to describe this, if you remember the scene from the first Iron Man movie where he takes out that tank with the little tiny rocket?
Yeah.
Imagine that, but dozens of those all at once.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yep.
We will, since that is a mouthful, we will label it MTMB.
MTMB.
Run with the acronym.
It's like, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
There you go.
There you go. The description says it's specifically good for targeting fast-moving enemies. So I'm assuming, like, if you come across a whole bunch of people that are just too hard to get your sights on them properly, you just say, screw it, fire and forget, and just launch them all.
Fire and forget. There you go.
Forget, man. Let's roll. All right.
And for the next Javelin is the Colossus. Wes, I believe this is one you're looking forward to as well?
Yes, Colossus.
Yes. This guy is the Hulkbuster, essentially.
Okay.
The definition of a one-man army.
I like how we're doing so many Marvel tie-ins.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Gotta have that. Wow.
That'll be amazing if you get a skin for this too.
Yeah.
See, secretly, Tony Stark is the Shaper.
There it is. Oh my god. That would be the biggest twist.
Game theory.
Yeah.
Hey, I could see his personality doing that too. That's the funny part.
Oh yeah. But if you're piloting one of these bad boys, this is going to put a smile on your face when you come up against opposition of overwhelming odds. You have just huge mounted artillery, heavy arms, and just because why not, you can even just walk up into close range fire with a flamethrower and just incinerate people from close range.
That is awesome.
That's great.
As for skills,
video of that is awesome. Yeah, go ahead, break down the skills.
Oh yeah. As for skills, its first melee skill is kind of hilarious. It's heavy smash. You literally just take your arms and just
Hulk smash
enemy ground. It will actually instantly kill the lesser enemies, and for those that are a bit more sturdy, you can use it to sort of knock them over and provide some CC to lock them down with some more firepower.
Okay, yeah,
that
absolutely.
is awesome.
Yes, cool.
And using that in combination with his next ability really opens up the potential for some real tanking, as you have the shield. Aside from just providing damage mitigation from, say, engaging or disengaging on an enemy, you can actually boost, hover, and fly while using this thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So just a Captain America just nuke coming in from the sky.
Whee!
And then chain that right into, say, the knock up to stun someone.
Oh, cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, this one really makes me very interested in playing a Colossus personally.
Okay.
The high explosive motor. Because having a bigger chassis for your Javelin means what else? Equipping bigger guns. So while the rest of your team is planning, it's like an invasion tactic. Okay, guys, we're going to come in from the east side. You will take them around and flank them from the west. The Colossus is probably just going to stand there from the back and just go and just nuke the entire camp all at once.
Leroy!
I think we've seen him do that, like in the some of the gameplay stuff, right? Where it's just like that, just
yeah, he just takes out an entire camp by himself with just one shot.
It's like, I'm here, guys.
Excuse me?
I'm here.
Can I get on this?
Everybody's gathered up at the entrance. You got your Interceptor, all your smaller guys. Like, okay, we need a course of action.
Right.
And Colossus just walks up. I got this, guys.
Oh yeah, especially with that shield thing just flying in there.
And it just comes flying in.
Does it talk about like any disadvantages to this Javelin right now? Like, or is it just like, because right now everything you're telling me.
Where is the disadvantage here?
Well, this being its mobility, it's very, very slow and heavy. So if you kind of get overwhelmed, let's say you're getting overwhelmed, your other allies can make it out easily. You're going to have a hard time getting out.
Okay.
Sands, you're going to have a bad time. As if it wasn't enough having this huge explosive motor as a gun, for its ultimate, why don't we just toss a siege cannon onto it as well?
Holy crap.
Yeah, I saw this from the E3 demo, and it's just like,
it looked awesome.
Boom, it looked.
Oh yeah, you just want to delete something from existence, whip this sucker out.
Heavy artillery.
Basically, the only thing it can't do is terraform the land.
That may be an ability later.
That's why you play it. You're like, I'm gonna get the Shaper technology, and I'm gonna become a Shaper myself, and there we go.
See, secretly, what it is one of the developers is like, hey guys, I'm gonna create this Javelin. Y'all don't need to know what I'm doing. I'm just making this.
This is what I want to play.
It's what he is. This is your solo.
I did
forget too overbalanced. Don't worry about it. Just let it happen. It's okay.
I did forget to mention one more weakness about the Colossus have, and it's really, really devastating one, sadly. It does not come equipped with cup holders. That is actually
gotta have a cup holder, man.
Gotta have that cup holder.
Where's my beer gonna go? Here, guys, hold my beer.
Just charge right in the battle. Yeah.
For when he dives in with his shield.
Yeah.
These last two Javelins are a bit more mysterious.
Okay.
Next up, we have the Storm. This is your, if this thing is truly magical, no pun intended. We've seen it do a lot of electricity attacks, and what lacks very little in the terms of survivability, it is huge in providing damage and mobility.
Yeah, so this definitely sounds like our glass cannon.
Oh yeah, this is the Mage if you want that archetype.
See, this is what I'm interested in. Like when they started talking about that, I was like, okay. They showed some footage, and he was putting out like barely any damage, but then it looks like he's got some abilities that are supposed to be going to be pretty powerful. So this is where I was going to say, you guys both sounded like you're interested in Colossus.
Colossus.
Oh, yeah.
I'm interested in Storm, through and through, especially if I've got you guys doing Colossus tanking.
I'll say,
like, I'm going to kick back and be like, all right, you and your heavy mortars, check out my magic lightning.
we're going to keep like the whole attention on us.
Yeah, exactly. So where do you say Chemistral?
So that could actually change too. One of the things I found when I was researching this is that as far as someone asked a question to the devs, is it possible to have different elements? What if we just want to say fire or maybe earth? And the answer the devs provided back was that actually depends upon your gear that you have equipped in your build. So it is possible to have different elemental attributes.
Okay.
That said, maybe if we can be like a frost type storm javelin unit and lock enemies down with CC, who knows? Maybe I might shift my leaders from Colossus to Storm. We don't really know too much about Storm in the final javelin, the Interceptor.
Okay.
So I'm kind of still up in the air. Colossus is just holding me there for the time being.
For now, till the game comes out, then we'll see.
What we do know about the Storm, though, before we move on to the Interceptor, is that it has the ability basically permanently hover at low altitudes, making so it has really great mobility in fights.
Okay.
As well as the ability to teleport.
Ooh, yeah, Blink, baby. Blink from the Warlock of Destiny. That's what I really enjoyed, that ability.
Oh, yeah. A mech that can blink, it is definitely a thing to be feared.
Absolutely.
And coming in for the... Oh, yeah. Now, last but not least, we have the final javelin, the Interceptor. And sadly, less is known about this than any other mechs. What we do know is that it's fast, it's sleek, and it's deadly. The only really thing we have to go off this is a line from the official site, which I'll just quote here. And it says, the Interceptor excels at getting in close to inflict damage and weaken its enemies, then dashing away before they can react. With powerful blade and a full suite of devastating abilities, the Interceptor is both incredibly self-reliant and an excellent supporting squad mate.
Okay. Yeah, that's the cool thing is that we can learn more about Storm and Interceptor. So I'm sure, like, from a marketing... Like, sorry, what did you say, Nightmare?
It's Thancred. Whatever his name is.
So we're going to relate this all back to Final Fantasy somehow.
Yes, somehow.
So looking at this, it kind of reminds me of the Warframe frames, just from like the way it's designed, and also it's Space Mech Ninja essentially.
Okay.
Very forward. Good. So
better good.
Could be a good way for those to transition over from Warframe into Anthem, but who knows? Anthem is definitely its own game, so I'm not going to try to make comparisons here. But one thing that does surprise me, and I wish we knew a little bit more about, is that final part of that quote says it's both a self-reliant and an excellent supporting squad mate. Mm-hmm. What type of support are we talking about? Are we talking about, say, being able to, defensively, can we help repair our allies? Or what about offensive? Maybe we put some debilitating debuffs on our enemies.
I think it's got to be debuffs, right? I mean,
that's what I'm leaning forward to as well.
Because they said no healing yet or something like that. But
yeah.
No healing or buffs, really. And
that could change the future frames, hopefully. Because I like more supportive play styles. But I'm also kind of worried, I would really love to see some debuffs. Like, if we get the Interceptor's debuffer, I'll probably actually play that. But we actually don't know a single skill about the frame. Mm-hmm. And we're 4 months away from launch. That's
takes a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 19 weeks, right? Ish.
Yeah, 19 weeks.
19 weeks. They're pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
February 22nd.
That's going to come up real quick.
Something a lot of people have been speculating is that maybe the Interceptor would be more for not only the close range people using those blades, but also your snipers. Because we've yet to see kind of like a true sniper-ish gameplay style. So maybe that's what they meant by support, as in cover fire. But
that would be pretty cool.
Dash in, shotgun, dash out, sniper, pop, 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 pop. You're just like...
Give me a shotgun and a sniper to play with.
Yeah, that sounds like more like a red mage. I mean, to relate it back to Final Fantasy.
Ooh, if it's red mage, I'm going to play this.
On a side note,
yeah.
You said we didn't know anything about the abilities. My guess is that its ultimate ability is going to be something to do with those blades. It's going to be probably like a zoom it, because from the gameplay and stuff you see of it, it looks like it's on skates almost.
Okay.
It's a rollerblader almost is what it looks like from the gameplay. Like in the background of what we got going on right now, you'll see it every now and then. You can tell which one's the Interceptor. He looks like he's on rollerblades almost.
I may have to do this just to kind of get my Jet Set Radio fix or Lucio fix on. So
there you go.
Maybe the one.
Lucio.
Because when you see him come in, he slides in and it looks like he's on rollerblades, and that's kind of looks. And from what I've seen, from what I found on the the page and stuff, it's almost like outside of combat, it moves the same speed as every other. All of them move the same speed outside of combat.
Okay.
Inside combat, this thing goes crazy with speed. It's supposed to be like super fast inside combat.
I'm really excited to be, because the nice thing is you can play as all of them. So that as we go in and play the content, you can like, okay, we're going to go with this kind of setup. And we can, sounds like obviously have freedom to kind of really try to tackle the different challenges any way that we see fit that makes sense.
If something isn't working with one javelin for a particular thing, you could swap it up and try it out with a different.
You're not locked into where it's like, okay, guys, sorry, I got to go level this now. Because it's all tied to your character. Now, so to wrap up this episode 1, like, on our final thoughts here, our concerns and our hopes. I'm gonna start with you, Nightmare. What are some of your concerns as we build up to the game? What are some of the things you hope for that you want to see?
For me, some of my major concerns is I've been a big Mass Effect fan for a long time. I have, since the first one. I've played them, and when Mass Effect Andromeda was announced, I was super excited for it, super stoked, pre-ordered it, and I mean, I went like the whole 9 yards with it. I was excited. It came out and it felt rushed. It felt like EA just pushed it out, forced BioWare to push it out sooner than it needed to be. There was a lot of technical issues. There was a lot of bugs. I mean, that my major concern is that EA is going to push them to push this out faster than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that the game is not going to be what it should be.
Yeah.
At
cut
launch.
feature release,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I my major concern is that EA is going to put their nose too far into it, and it may cause issues at launch.
Yeah, hopefully the relationship between developer and publisher stays healthy for this.
Now, if they have learned, if they've paid attention to their mistakes with Battlefront, and they paid attention to some of the competitors, in this case, Destiny 2. They pay attention to the mistakes that they made, learn from other people's mistakes. This game has the potential to be a really good game, even at launch. Even though it is EA, they seem to be learning from their mistakes with the monetization thing. They've already announced that there's going to be, you're just buying cosmetics.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're learning and they know what they need to do. So my hopes is that they will, and we'll carry through, and we'll have a great game even at launch.
Yeah.
That is the main thing.
Hopes are right along with Nightmare Demon's hopes. Pretty much the same. It's as long as EA doesn't try to push it out the door, we could have an amazing product on our hands, and I would definitely be looking forward to playing this game for the foreseeable future.
Right.
For a while.
Unfortunately, the concerns are a little bit more than the hopes. One, EA, most people already know the whole Battlefront fiasco, so I don't need to go into that.
Yeah. Battlefield and an Andromeda. Like, it's like...
True, yes, I forgot about Andromeda.
Because it felt like it was kind of like what Nightmare was worried about. Like, nope, just get it out. We'll fix it after. Oh, I hate the fix it after mindset. Anyway,
it hurts a game so much when they do that.
Agreed. My final two concerns about this is, one, we only know half of the frame's abilities. We're missing two of the abilities of Storm, and we don't know any of the abilities of Interceptor. And the game is 19 weeks, 4 months away from launch.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because, being that it's an alpha, I mean, anything can change. Everything that we just read.
Oh, yeah.
It could be completely different.
Yeah, so all the skills can change. It's just disconcerting to see nothing for this class, so to speak.
It falls into the question, is it a marketing strategy, or are they still tweaking? It's like, do they have...
From the way the website's laid out, I got a feeling
I think it's marketing. Yeah. That's a hope, but then, it's a concern that it's like, nope. Like, all right, guys.
It's like...
Put some bubble
we said we've got these, but we don't know what we're doing with them. So here you go.
Yeah, so hopefully just kind of keeping us in the dark about that. And my final concern is that, come launch, this game is amazing. They stuck to their guts. They produced a strong game. But then, down the road, what if they start, we'll add, some questionable thing here, maybe a loot box there.
Yeah.
So at launch, it may be flawless, but I've seen countless games get corrupted over its life cycle. I don't want this to be one of them.
Right. I think for me, hope wise, I look at BioWare, and I look at the games that I've enjoyed from them in the past, and I see, a lot of potential. I see a franchise that, that could essentially be a whole new thing, be something that really kind of excels. Concern wise is that it becomes one of these things that's annualized, and that, you know, you look at, here's Anthem 2 and Anthem 3. It's like, now what I'm looking for in especially the MMO like category is, you know, I want a 10-year game. I want a game that, like, the investment that I'm making in year 1 is something that pays off for me in year 5 and in year 7 and things like that, where it's like the game is constant. The concern is obviously, like, how are they planning on, if it's like that kind of length of a game, how are they planning on monetizing it? Because these people, you know, they deserve to feed their families. You know, businesses, they deserve to make money. They're taking the risk of investing their time and capital, etc. So, like, I don't fault EA for that, but at the end of the day, when they sit here and say no loot boxes and then you can buy, you know, you can buy what you want. The thing that immediately sticks out to me is that I bet it's going to be pricey. I think that the first thing people are going to sit here and look at is they're going to get sticker shock. Before, with loot boxes, you're paying for a chance to get something cool. Now it's like, oh, you want that frame or you want that whatever. You know, people are like, yeah, okay, $1 or $2. It's like, no. They're going to charge you $20 or something like.
Oh no!
So,
I mean, even if you're coming from Final Fantasy 14, look at the Bog Station. Any of the glamours on there are easily $15 to $18 for a set.
You're paying specifically for it. You know, this is the price, and then you'll see probably sales and discounts and things like that. So my concern is that that'll be the initial gut reaction. People, because it's like, okay, you took away loot boxes, but okay, well, what's the odds? Because, like, it is, I guarantee you, an algorithm in which that they're like, okay, this is what, you know, people are they're gonna hope for this. This is what they're gonna get and pay for, and this is what the kind of return on that, you know, is going to be. How does that translate to literal, you know, like, you want to buy this? Well, okay, we need to make sure we're bringing in that.
One way.
Yeah. Go ahead.
One way that they can avoid the sticker shock thing is because, you know, they already tried to introduce currency in with Battlefront 2. So if they done it like that, it wouldn't seem as much of a sticker shock per se, because you're not seeing the exact dollar sign.
Right.
You buy the currency, and then you have the currency that you can spend on any of the.
And then if you earn in that currency in the game as well, then it's like
that's why I feel like it's probably going to be a currency, because they said you can earn the cosmetics.
Yeah.
My assumption is like a trade system almost. You can trade with people and get that currency.
I get the system, but I do enjoy subscription-based games for the reason of not having to try to worry about all that. But I get it. You know,
hopefully it could sort of be like Guild Wars 2 in that sense, where, you know, you have expansions that have different features, but they're not needed to continue enjoying the core game.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and to the long term, you know, ness of it. It's a shared world. They have dedicated servers. There's a cost to that. You know, they need to make sure that they're making money if this game's to succeed. I just hope that it. I really am hoping that, like, it is launched and that the monetization model is balanced and fair. And I don't need it to be balanced and fair at day one. I need them to make sure they need to show they're listening. The way that BioWare, like, so from the hope is the way that BioWare is communicating. It makes me feel like they're listening, we're being heard, and they're listening, you know, like, and they're also then letting us know what that is. And that's a positive. So this is an adventure. This podcast literally is an adventure with the relationship between EA and BioWare. How is it going to impact Anthem? We're 19 weeks away. So, you know, for this podcast, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about matchmaking, raids, some of the other things that we've kind of hinted at earlier in the show. And we're going to be covering the news. If crazy news breaks, if all of a sudden, like, literally on Monday, they're like, beta on, you know, Tuesday, we might be back next week.
Yeah.
So,
it all depends, folks.
Streaming live from in-game.
Streaming live. We're going to be exactly. Live from...
This week's podcast is from in the world of Anthem.
Exactly.
Surprise!
So with that, I'm going to... Chemistral, where can people find you, and what do you do on in creative YouTube or Twitch world?
So I am a YouTuber. I'm still working on a schedule as far as uploading goes, but you can find me over at Chemistral at YouTube. Occasionally, I do have Chemistral over on Twitch as well, but still working on getting the YouTube done first before I cross-brand over to that.
Okay, cool. And Nightmare, where can people find you?
For the most part, I am more of a Twitch streamer. You can find me at twitch.tv/Nightmare Demon Gaming. Underscores between the two. I am also on YouTube. I've recently started doing videos. We'll see how that goes, but it's the same name. You can find me at Nightmare Demon Gaming on YouTube. And you can also find me on Twitter at Krusnik Gaming. And that's where you can find me.
All right. And then my name's Brian, and you can find us over at Work to Game. Work with the number 2 in it at Twitch, and Work to Game at YouTube. We did it that way in case anybody Googles it. Like, you'll find one entry point either on Twitch or on YouTube. Obviously, if you're watching it here on Twitch, then you've already found us. Big shock. You can also follow me on Twitter at DelmonteB. There's a story behind that. We'll maybe save that for a later day. And then also you can also find us at Work to Game on Twitter. For Brian, for Chemistral, for Nightmare, this has been episode 1 of the Anthem Free Radio. I really appreciate everybody hanging out here with us on Twitch. I really appreciate everybody here watching us on YouTube. You can reach us at the Twitter handle Anthem Free Radio, and you can also email us at anthemfreeradio@gmail.com. If you got questions, concerns, or comments, if there's any information that we didn't fully understand and you're well aware of it, please hit us up, let us know. We'll make sure that we issue any corrections in any future upcoming podcasts. We want to make sure that this show is not just a journey as we venture towards a potential new future, a new franchise, and the journey of that, but also that we're delivering accurate information as well as hopefully a lot of fun. Anyway, so for all of us, for us here at Work to Game, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Hey, beautiful. Did anybody ever tell you that we want you as a part of the workforce? That's right. The workforce needs you. Yes, you on YouTube, or wherever this video is shared. Like, favorite, share, sub, dance, join, military, jump up and down. You know the drill. Anyway, we totally want you. Part of the workforce. Join the workforce. Or don't. Either way, we hope you come back. Hope you have a good day. Peace. Chuck Charles out.